It's early autumn and there's an early cold snap. There's the first dusting of snow on the peaks of the mountain range. But it doesn't matter what time of year it is, it's nice to come up to this cabin in the sticks. The world's becoming an increasingly crazy place, and evil seems to be abounding more and more. For me, that's all the more reason to want times away from thinking too much about the insanities of today's global agendas, and to enjoy simple things in a peaceful environment, even if it's only for a day or two at a time. This little off-grid cabin surrounded by farmland, mountain ranges and forest is a perfect place to get away from it all and not have to worry too much about what's going on in the political landscape and everything else that can consume our daily focus. Up here at this little cabin surrounded by nature, it's peaceful and it seems miles away from the craziness. Enjoying God's creation instead of having to focus on man's destructive ways for a while, and the satanic agenda that seeks to enslave and ensnare us all. But up here, it's none of that. It just feels peaceful and it's good for the soul. Sitting out on the porch, it's a great place to reflect on life's priorities, what's important and what's not. There's so much beauty in nature and God created us to enjoy it. It's so easy for people to be consumed by the rat race that they can lose sight of the fact that there is so much beauty around them, and that when we stop and slow down enough that God can speak to us as well. When we're too busy, that's not always the case. I filmed these deer from out on the porch. They come out just as it's getting dark and first thing in the morning when it's just getting light, and they graze. They are a potential food source, of course, but they're also just so graceful to watch, and I enjoy seeing them out there. You can see plenty of rabbits and also a large hare like this one quite regularly out there too. And there must have been about a dozen deer out there this particular day. During the day, the deer disappear into the woodland. There's plenty of green for them to eat, I guess, competing with the possums. And besides the plant life, there's also plenty of water in the stream that runs through here. Awesome, beautiful. The forest provides a close, easy, accessible source of firewood, which is always handy at the cabin. But it's also a great place just to walk and relax. Well, when I say relax, it's pretty steep walking up the hills, and you can end up a bit out of breath, so it depends what your definition of relaxing is, I suppose, but it's definitely enjoyable and it's beautiful to walk through there, though also at times it can get pretty muddy and boggy as well. But what a great spot to have so close to the cabin. I filmed walking through here earlier on in the summer, and that's why there's the noise of the cicadas in the background, which can be pretty deafening almost, but it's also relaxing in a way hearing them too. It's the sound of New Zealand summer. But wherever you are in the world, a walk in the woods is a great way to recharge your batteries and get some exercise at the same time and enjoy God's wonderful creation. This waterfall's actually just across from the cabin, and I can hear it from the cabin and almost see it apart from the pine trees blocking the view. But it's awesome having that so close by too. So anyway, autumn has hit, and with it you get mornings like this with a bit of a fog too. So what better way to start a bit of a chilly morning than to get the fire going? This little wood stove is great for this cabin, and making some toast and a cup of coffee. It's a great way to start the morning, and yeah, it's a free source of energy. Just takes a little bit of effort to cut the firewood, but it doesn't cost anything. When I'm up here at the cabin, I can just enjoy taking my time, making and having breakfast. No point in hurrying. There's always things to be done at the cabin, but there's no definite start time. You just do it when you're ready. This year so far, I've had a few projects on the go up at the cabin, things to get done, because it is a work in progress as time and money allow. I keep adding things, and there's still more to do, of course, as well. One of the issues with having a small cabin is always storage. There's always things that you're trying to find places to store them. So with limited room above, I decided to create some storage areas below the cabin as well. Using baseboard timber, I've created some doors for under the floor storage, and they work actually really well. Another project this year so far has been to create a roof over the porch in front of the cabin. And so with help from Bruce, who's more clued up on building than I am, we got the structure in place to put the roof up. We got the rafters up, and then we decided to clad it with grey polycarbonate roofing so it is semi-clear, lets the sun through but keeps 99% of the UV out, and put that up, and that was a real achievement. It felt awesome to get that roof up finally. And I created some more storage space underneath the deck as well. Now I used some corrugated iron which I stuck up underneath the deck for a little bit of extra weather protection, and then added doors to the front. And I've created various other storage areas with some weather protection for things like firewood and sawdust and so forth as well. And after a satisfying day of working at the cabin, it's time to go in and make a satisfyingly tasty meal. The kitchen is small but functional, and I've utilised space for storage really well in there as well. The area for doing dishes is currently out in the open air with a sink bench that I've built, but eventually I plan to cover that with a roof too. We get some really beautiful sunsets up at the cabin, and this happens to be one of them. And though it's getting to be a little chilly on this night in the early autumn, I decided it's a nice night to sit outside on the deck with a cup of coffee for a while too, and have the fire going inside for when I do want to go back inside and get warm. I thank God for this cabin, and even though it's been a tough last year or so in many ways, there are always things that we can be grateful for, and having this cabin is something that I am really grateful to the Lord for. It's wonderful to be able to sit out here on the porch listening to the sound of the waterfall and crickets and birds and so on, And I have other ideas of things that I want to do up here, but it all takes time, and I'll get there eventually, hopefully, with God's grace and God's timing. But I want to encourage people that are watching this, if you have a chance to build a cabin or stay in someone else's cabin or go camping, just get out there and do it. It's wonderful if you can have a chance to escape from the rat race and just enjoy the sounds of nature. It can also be a useful part of people's prepping to have a place to bug out to like this when natural disaster or other man-made disasters occur. Well, I'm going to go and enjoy a nice warm fire. I hope this video has helped encourage some of you to maybe think about doing something similar.